David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, released in 2001, was originally supposed to be a TV series but got shut down by ABC after the pilot episode aired. Subsequently, it was pivoted into the film we all know and love today.
It is an illusion.
David Lynch died before ever explaining the real meaning behind the film. That adds to the beauty of it. This movie makes for such a confusing viewing experience, but if you're into that type of thing, I would recommend this film to you 1,000 times. Everything I will say in this video is entirely my interpretation of the film, and it's important to note there are some completely different interpretations than mine, which I absolutely love. Mulholland Drive would be explained as a meta, postmodernist, neo-noir film that definitely takes a locked-in individual to fully grasp even on the second watch. So strap in as I do the plot summary because it's going to be a whirlwind.
Oh, baby, I'm so every little star, just how sweet I think you are. Why haven't I told you?
The movie starts with Betty Elms, an aspiring actress moving to Hollywood to get her big break. Everything is seemingly perfect as her aunt had graciously lended her home to Betty while she got her footing. However, a hint of trouble comes Betty's way when she finds a naked woman in her shower. Having amnesia due to getting in a car crash and not remembering her real name, the woman names herself Rita. All Rita has to her person is a purse full of cash and a mysterious blue key.
And now I'm in this dream place.
The two go on a journey to crack the mystery of who Rita truly is, and in typical neo-noir fashion, they fall in love. Everything seems pretty normal until it isn't. Rita and Betty go to get coffee after calling the police station to get more information on Rita's car crash. When a waitress comes to take their order, however, Rita recognizes the name Diane on the waitress's name tag. This sparks her memory of a mysterious character named Diane Selwyn. Now keep this in mind for later because the plot develops further before there are any developments here. So, bear with me. Betty goes to an audition where she is forced to perform a sexual scene with an older man in front of a room full of people before being informed that she was never going to be considered for the part. She's then introduced to a director, Adam Kesher, who doesn't seem significant right now, but you'll want to remember who he is. He's a director being forced to cast a girl, Camilla Rhodes, for his movie against his will due to his movie being controlled by mob higher-ups. He uttered,
This is the girl.
as the higher-ups look down on him. Afterwards, he makes awkwardly long eye contact with Betty before she runs off to find Diane Selwyn with Rita. However, after breaking into Diane Selwyn's home, they find her dead. The beginning of the end, as I like to call it, begins at Club Silencio. The two wake up in the middle of the night, mysteriously drawn to a place called Club Silencio after Rita utters Silencio in her sleep. This club consists of some sort of weird magic show with a singer. It's all just very weird, and it's not really clear what the purpose of this club is at first or why they were drawn to go here. Following this, the narrative completely shifts. Betty reaches into her purse and pulls out a small blue box. This is largely interpreted as more than just a box, but as a portal to reality. When the two get home, Betty seemingly just disappears after Rita unlocks the box using the blue key that she found in her purse way earlier. It is at this moment where all the characters within the story the audience thought they knew disappear, and the camera slowly pans to Naomi Watts' character sleeping, but it's clearly not Betty. The big reveal of the movie is that the character Betty actually represents this woman Diane's dream version of herself, or who she wishes she could have been. But okay, let me stop you there. This isn't one of those typical "it was just a dream" tropes. This movie goes far beyond that. Diane, or real life Betty, had a pretty messed up life. She was in love with a woman, Camilla Rhodes, who was Rita in her dream. But Camilla in real life largely overshadowed her entire acting career. It had gotten to a point where Diane largely relied on Camila to get all of her roles. When Camila left Diane for their director on the Sylvia North story, Adam Kesher, this is where things went severely downhill for Diane. She was broke, alone, embarrassed. So Diane did what any normal person would do. She hired a hit on Camilla. However, when the deed was done, she deeply regretted it, and she got really sad and depressed, so she killed herself. Yeah, so that's the end of the movie. I don't know if that's what you guys were getting from it at the beginning, but that's how it ends up ending. So, in short, Diane kills her girlfriend. She has this sick dream about the way she wishes her life would have turned out, but then she comes to the realization that her girlfriend is actually dead and she killed her. And she kills herself from the shame and guilt. Now, I just spewed a lot at you, but there's so much more to the movie than just its confusing plot. The movie consists of precise stylistic choices and carefully placed symbols that are easy to miss during the first watch. Color is a really big theme that personally flew right over my head the first time watching the movie. It will be really important to remember the themes color represents. Now, to put things simply, I took it as red symbolizes lies, but also passion, and blue symbolizes reality. We can see strong images of red in Diane's lamp, the setting inside Club Silencio, Betty and Rita's clothing, and Rita and Camila's dark red lip. Blue, on the other hand, can be seen in the blue key, both in the dream and reality, the blue box, the woman with blue hair in Club Silencio, the glowing blue microphone in Club Silencio, Betty's clothing during her audition, and Betty's bright blue eyes. Now, I think all of these symbols have their own unique meanings, but to save time, it's important to hone in on a couple of the most important. Probably one of the most famous scenes in the movie is the Winkies diner scene. The scene opens with two men, Dan and Herb. Although their names are never explicitly ever said, I guess these are their names according to David Lynch. Dan tells Herb about a disturbing dream he had at that particular Winkies location. I guess this dream was scary enough for Dan to absolutely need to go back there. Herb, for some reason, doesn't find this weird at all. In fact, he encourages Dan to confront his nightmare, which revolves around a creepy entity controlling the dream from the alleyway behind the Winkies. When the two men go back to face Dan's fears, however, they come across this really scary looking bum behind the dumpsters. This is enough to send Dan into some sort of unconscious state, and to be honest, when I watched the scene for the first time, I almost met the same fate as Dan. It's really scary. But after this, the scene just ends, and the plotline and characters are never revisited, besides one instance where Dan appears later in the movie briefly at the Winkies where Diane is ordering a hit on Camila in the exact same booth Dan and Herb were sitting at. Got it? Okay, good. Perhaps the most notable part of the scene that I personally missed during the first watch is when Herb stands in the exact place Dan described in the dream. The crazy part about this, though, is that Dan stands in that exact spot during Diane's hit on Camila. Dan is seen creepily looking to the booth before the camera cuts away from him, and he's never seen again. Dan being seen in the dream just as he had been seen in the diner serves as an expression of Diane's guilty subconscious. Except in the dream and in reality, Diane and Dan are switched. Dan knows he shouldn't, but he goes to the back alleyway. There, he is met with extreme fear to the point where he passes out. Now, I wasn't completely sure what this said about Diane, but I'm pretty sure it just speaks to the fact that she knows she shouldn't have killed Camila, and she ends up regretting it afterwards. Side note, the second time I watched this movie, I watched it with my boyfriend, and it absolutely scared the shit out of him, and I think that just shows that the nightmarish quality of the scene really does not mesh with the whole Betty Rita side plot. You as a viewer are not expecting a jump scare out of this movie, but when it happens, it just completely changes the tone. You're expecting something totally different out of watching this movie after this scene takes place. The cinematography of the scene particularly stood out to me. Shot types consist of primarily over-the-shoulder shots, but with the over-the-shoulder shots, the camera is never truly stationary, and the scene has some sort of weird blur over it. The disoriented camera shots leave the viewer almost nauseated and uncomfortable. It serves as an added tension to the scene. Nothing is linear, and that can definitely be reflected in the shot types. The over-the-shoulder shots are never completely over the shoulder, as we can see the camera tilting and moving behind the characters' heads or off to the side. When Dan says, "Of all people, you're standing over there," the camera pans slowly to an empty area of the diner by the front door. The shot is so ominous because as viewers, we aren't stupid. We know the shot is purposeful and trying to tell us something, but at this point in the movie, we can't understand what. Funnily enough, the scene gives away a lot of clues about what David Lynch is trying to say about Hollywood as well as hidden themes within the movie. Dan mentions that there is a man in back controlling everything, which is a large theme we see throughout the movie. This can be seen at multiple points, with two notable examples being the man behind the wall controlling the casting of the movie and the woman on the balcony in Club Silencio watching down on the performers. Control is a theme that is constantly prevalent, and it goes back to Lynch's opinions on Hollywood. I will further discuss this when talking about my second scene, but in short, Lynch believes that everything in Hollywood is controlled, and creative freedom along with fair treatment of employees is very limited. The viewer learns to distrust everything they are seeing at this point in the movie, and this is especially true when Betty and Rita go to this exact Winky's location to call the police station and get coffee afterwards. Everything in the movie reveals itself in a weird parallel eventually, and Lynch wants you as the viewer to be very critical of everything you're seeing. The next scene that I'm going to analyze jumps pretty far into the movie, but it's a scene with an incredible amount of deep, ambiguous symbolism. So, buckle up. The scene opens with the two protagonists hitchhiking at 2 a.m. after Rita mysteriously uttered Silencio and No Hay Banda in her sleep. The camera is at an extreme wide shot, but a light post is just visible enough for the viewer to read a poster saying in bold, "Hollywood is hell," a huge theme Lynch is trying to get at. The thematic idea of the poster should not be written off, as it is very reflective of Lynch, but also Adam Kesher, the director within Diane's dream and her real life. Although Kesher is very successful in Diane's real life, his dream self serves as more of a failure all around. His wife cheats on him, he can't have control over his movie, and he goes virtually bankrupt.
Hello?
Someone maybe shut off my money.
I know. Where are you, Adam?
Sorry, what do you mean you know?
Somebody called. When they couldn't get you, they told me you were as good as broke.
This serves as a manifestation of Diane's spite. She wishes her and Adam could just switch places. She desired his success and his influence over Camila. She was deeply jealous of him, so his dream manifestation is completely opposite of who he really is. The mob's constant enforcement over Kesher's movies serves as a reminder of the harsh realities of Hollywood. The cowboy is a figure who only ever appears for Adam and Diane. The purpose of the cowboy for Diane serves as a bridge between her realities. However, the purpose of the cowboy for Adam is to warn him about the consequences he would face if he does not cast a certain girl for his movie. Kesher within the dream represents the death of free expression in Hollywood. Now, Club Silencio itself gives major hints to unlocking the mystery of the film. First, the mise-en-scène shows a huge red curtain with red lighting, although the outside of the club is blue. With this, the microphone glows blue at multiple points throughout the scene, along with the woman in the balcony having bright blue hair. Now, if you remember what I said about color symbolism way earlier, you know that this made me think about what this really meant. Within the club scene, the magician literally tells everyone that everything they see or hear is all some sort of overlaid track, hence the famous
No hay banda.
line, or
There is no band.
the No Hi Banda line tells the audience everything they need to know during this scene. This shows the fake nature of Hollywood that the audience always fails to see, even if they subconsciously know everything is fake. Just like Betty and Rita understood that there was a backtrack, but were still surprised when the woman fainted while singing and the track kept going. The scene reads as a blatant warning towards Betty that everything she is seeing is fake, but she refuses to listen. Color symbolism in the mise-en-scène tells the audience this too. The woman with the blue hair in the balcony and the glowing blue microphone are placed with a lot of meaning that is not understood until the events that follow, which is Betty, or Diane, waking up from her dream. I interpreted these symbols as blaring truths. The strong blue colors are seemingly out of place in contrast with the vast red theater, and the blue almost exactly matches that of the box and key. When the microphone glows, it lights up the entire theater, which also hints towards Diane possibly waking up. I interpreted the microphone as another symbol of the bridge between dreams and reality, just like the cowboy and the box. The viewer knows the blue lighting is speaking to Betty as well, due to her somehow knowing to reach into her purse and pull out a blue box during the show. The cinematography paired with the mise-en-scène of the seemingly completely empty theater rows surrounding the two protagonists makes everything seem very personal between the people on stage and Betty. Close-up shots between Betty and the magician, along with Betty and the singer, give the effect of them speaking directly almost to her. When the magician says,
It is an illusion.
this reads as him warning Betty due to the shot types being so close to their faces. When he raises his hands to make the thunder strike, the camera remains very personal, and the shots go back and forth between the magician looking at Betty and Betty looking back at him before looking around, clearly uncomfortable. Betty begins to violently tremble halfway through the show, which I took as a representation of her beginning to wake up to the truth. This is clear because Rita only tries to hold down her shoulders, which is weird because in real life, if someone is trembling in this way, it would be normal for a bystander to ask for help or call an ambulance. This further hints towards Betty definitely dreaming. Although the scene challenges the viewer to consider what the real meaning behind the film is, Lynch further asks the viewer to consider the real-world application of the film rather than just surface-level interpretation of the plot. This is most apparent through the symbolism of the woman on the balcony with the blue hair, who also holds the very last line of the movie. She is largely thought to represent the reality of higher-ups controlling everything in Hollywood, symbolizing lack of free expression in directors and artists. This would make sense due to Lynch's original idea of making Mulholland Drive into a show getting turned down by ABC after the pilot aired. Lynch wants us to realize that we are viewing Hollywood with rose-colored glasses, much how Betty views the world in her dream. She knows there is something more to what she is seeing, but she is choosing to ignore what is right in front of her. It's also very fitting that Naomi Watts is casted for the role of Betty/Diane. According to the Ringer.com, Naomi Watts was struggling to get by as an emerging actress and had met poor criticism for almost a decade. Finally, before nearly being evicted, Naomi Watts was able to land her role in the TV series Mulholland Drive. However, after the pilot got turned down by ABC, she almost gave up on acting. When Mulholland Drive got turned into a movie, it marked Watts' breakthrough. In a lot of ways, Diane and Naomi Watts are alike, making the movie much more striking in its criticism of how Hollywood treats its stars. Overall, the color symbolism in the mise-en-scène paired with the intimate cinematography read as a warning for Betty that she is trying to ignore. It also tells the audience dark truths about Hollywood that are very personal to David Lynch and Naomi Watts. The movie ends with the words "Silencio" uttered by the woman with blue hair on the theater balcony. Silencio at the end signifies the show is over or that Diane's dream has completely shattered. It also represents death, as Diane kills herself at the very end of the movie and her dream finally goes completely quiet. Silencio is a reminder that in Hollywood, all lights eventually go out and nothing follows but silence. For most, including Diane, and even Naomi Watts for a period of time, that side of Hollywood filled with glitz and glamour is unattainable. Diane was a fool to believe things would work between her and Camilla and that being constantly close to success could save her career. It also shows the harsh realities of what it takes to be someone, something Camilla accepted by marrying Adam Kesher, leaving Diane behind. Overall, the message behind the film is literally Hollywood is hell. I think you can tell after my long rant about the ins and outs of this movie that I think it's an absolute masterpiece of postmodern American cinema. David Lynch makes the movie feel so surreal and dreamlike, capturing the very essence of what a dream is. Some things parallel while other things are opposite. Some things make complete sense while some things are never developed and seem completely out of place. This is why you can watch the film 100 times and still interpret it in new ways. I ran out of storage on my camera, so I'm filming this on Snapchat, but paired with the fact that Lynch never lived to elaborate on the movie, it's completely up to the viewer, which in my opinion makes it imperfectly perfect. If you liked my video, this is my final project for Max 104. I'm a freshman at UIUC, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Bye!